trust is the foundation for all of the success and all the happiness that we want in our lives. And it's really a question of how much do you trust yourself?
You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 587 with guest Anna Tsui. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad that you're here. Hey, I'm especially excited because today, the day that this is dropping, for the group of you who listen to the podcast on the day that it comes out, by the way, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I am going to start doing my weekly live streams on social media. So you can find me going live on Wednesdays at noon Eastern time. That's 9 Pacific, on Instagram, on my Facebook page, and even my Facebook profile, if you are one of my Facebook friends. Hey, if you are. And also on TikTok. I'm at Hey Andrea Owen on all of those platforms. I am going to do, ask me anything. So I'll do Q&As, but I'll always have some kind of topic. My dog wants to get in on the fun. I don't know if you can hear her, but I'll always have some kind of topic that I'm going to be teaching, discussing with you. And a lot of times it'll have to do with the podcast. So if you love the podcast, you might want to try to join me live. And of course, those will live on my social media sites thereafter as well. But it would be super awesome to see you live over there. Also, I think I have 1 or 2 openings for private coaching right now. All this stuff you can find over at andreaowen.com/links, and you can be directed into the right place. All right, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. Anna Tsui is a leadership coach and international writer, speaker, and serial entrepreneur. She believes everyone has a unique genius and has developed a signature method that allows people to actually connect to that personal essence. Her mission is to help people be more successful by being their true, authentic selves. So without further ado, here is Anna. Anna, thank you so much for being here.
I can't believe I'm on the Andrea Owen show. Thank you. Let's make some
Right?
noise. Yeah.
That's the best thing anybody's ever said right off the bat there. I appreciate that. Well, I have several questions that I want to ask you, and I'm going to go out of order because, it's kind of a new year as this podcast is airing. And I have talked over the years, I've had this show for 10 years and have had various people come on and talk about manifestation. And, I've moved away a little bit from the law of attraction because it can be so cloaked in privilege and not enough people are talking about that, I don't think. But I love how you talk about manifestation. And I know that I'm just sort of opening it up for you to just talk about whatever. It's such a broad question, but I would love for you to just run with it. And can you kind of tell us how do you teach people about it? Maybe for somebody who's kind of a beginner.
So I have a problem with the way that manifestation has been brought into the mainstream and how there's all these specifically money manifestation coaches, because I feel like the core of manifestation is this understanding that we are powerful beings that are always manifesting. We are divine beings. We are beings that, other than just having this awesome, beautiful meat sack, right? We have this energy within us, a soul, a spirit, and whatever it is that we believe, but there's an energy that animates us. And manifestation, I feel, is just a natural outcome of our existence. If we are in that aligned place, which is not necessarily creating from ego, but just living as how we're meant to live on this earth, right? And so my problem with mainstream manifestation, which I could talk about for days, is that it's really purely ego focused. It's how can I forget this big, vast, infinite system that I am and purely use my ego and my mind specifically to get money, which might not actually be the best use of our manifestation abilities. And if it comes directly from ego, we tend to get a lot of ego results. And even for people who do manifest money, because yes, it works. If you focus your mind on something, it's going to work to some extent. it might actually bring us money, but that money is just going to feed our ego and it actually might lead us down a path that's not best for our lives. And the bigger
Mm,
thing is actually just abundance. And I know a lot of people, we say abundance and we mean money, but real abundance is really, we truly have access to everything around us. It's all existing, it's all energy. And actually, the best gateway to abundance is our creativity, which is the reason why we're here anyway, is to exercise our creativity, which is another way of saying manifesting. And so I just feel like coming from that energy, it's really different manifesting from the soul, from creativity to access abundance than it is using
mhm.
your brain and your ego to make money, to attract money, right? It feels different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And I remember there was, and I would not even slightly be able to tell you exactly what it is that you said in this one particular TikTok video that you made. But I know it was around this topic, and it inspired me enough to do something that I haven't done since my life fell apart in 2006. And I'm in a similar year this year, going through a really tumultuous divorce, and just it's been a rough one.
Wow.
And what I did back then, and it was really like one of the very first kind of personal development steps of action that I took, is I drew a picture of what I wanted in my life.
Oh, I love that.
And I was in a place where like I needed a job. I was pregnant. I did not have the father was not around. Like it was, it could be dire. I was in a bad place. And I didn't put anything about money on there, which is interesting because like you would think that I would have. And for some reason it was just like, I drew a house and it was me. And I was like holding a little bit, it was like stick figures. I was holding a little baby and
Wow.
I still have it. It's in my files. You know what almost the whole page was filled with was hearts.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Because all I wanted was to be surrounded by love, whether it was my own love or people around me that loved me and my baby. And like, it's gonna make me emotional to talk about it. It's like that's something inside of me. And I hadn't done like any personal development work. Something like intuitively said, that is what you need.
Yes. Wow,
And
brilliant.
that's what I got. And so
Ah,
anyway, I did something similar recently. It's actually right here. Let me pull it out because I wrote something interesting on it.
no, but imagine if you instead asked for $100,000 and not love. Do you know what I mean? Like your life would be so different.
Yeah. And I said, I wrote down three things, and you loosely what you said. I wrote down, I believe in my own potential. I believe in my own abundance. I believe in the reality of my dreams that are already here, that my dreams are already here.
Wow. Yeah, you're already living your
Yeah.
dream. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that you talk about, right? Is like to focus, because you're right. Like we do have, I know people listening, like so much around us, like that's within our reach that we don't focus on, that we take for granted. Is that fair?
Oh, so much, so much. And like I know a lot of people would say, well, I don't feel like I'm living my dream. Right. I look around and I don't feel like I'm living my dream. And you know what? That's the key piece. We need to believe it because that's the muscle, that's the perspective shift that really changes your life, is like that believing that you mentioned you're going through a divorce, that is part of
Mhm.
the dream. And until we
Yeah.
believe, until we have that trust, until we can't see it. We can't see it. It's actually all part of the dream. Dreaming in like a really, really good way, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that trust and knowing that if you accept everything that's happening as part of your greatest expansion, then you know what? It actually really changes the way that events unfold because you've changed. You've
Mhm.
actually remembered who you are, which is this powerful being that's creating your life.
That speaks to a quote that I saw somewhere recently that said, maybe I haven't changed. Maybe I just took the mask off.
Ooh,
Sounds like that just reminded me of what that whole thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's, I think, like what
I
happened to
know.
me.
Yeah, and it's so scary because society really wants you to have this mask. And even our well-intentioned friends, this mask about like everything's a problem, right? And there's so many
Mhm.
things to complain about, which yes, if you
Yeah.
choose to, there's infinite things to complain about, right? But then you realize at some point, oh, it's just a mask. It's like a learned social mechanism or something. It's learned so that we can always be fighting with each other and, be
Mhm.
sold stuff. And it's not reality, actually.
Can you talk about trust? Because I have struggled with this, and I know a lot of my listeners do as well, more specifically self-trust, and maybe even more specifically what, if you can touch on what you said around, we said like my divorce is like part of the dream, and it's like, and trusting. I've gotten a lot better at it, but it's that whole aspect of trusting that like wherever you are, whatever hard thing that you're going through,
Like, are there any caveats for that? Because like, I mean, some people go through some egregious things, like
Yeah.
the loss of a child
Oh my
or,
gosh.
like things like that. Like, that's not the same as like everything happens for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
can you talk about the difference maybe?
I think trust always saves you. So I do know, I do have friends who went through that horrible loss of a child. And I think it's
Mhm.
because their trust in their God, right? They were very
Mhm.
firm believers in God. And so that really saved them and it helped them see the other side of it. And actually, eventually, it helped them reconnect to their child and kind of like the bigger spirit realm and kind of why did this happen? And so it came full circle. I actually
Mhm.
think trust is the foundation for all of the success and all the happiness that we want in our lives. And it's really a question of how much do you trust yourself? Like, how much do I trust myself that if right now in my business, if my business were to fail, if everything that I did, if I got taken off TikTok and all this stuff and everything that I tried before, like it didn't work and I lost all my clients, how much do I trust myself that I would get back up and be able to do it again? I really trust myself in that sense. If I were to lose everything, how much do I trust myself? How much do I trust the universe that it's a kind universe? Who we trust in our subconscious will give us the answer to the quality of our life. A lot of people trust that it's going to be horrible. A lot of people
Mhm.
trust that. And I know that, people have different relationship with God and source and all that, but if you trust that some people call God a vengeful God, right? If you trust that, then that's just going to show up. And so our level of trust is so important. And I think we all have trust issues at this point,
Sure.
right? So it's so important to look at like who are we trusting? Do we trust ourselves really? And I think for people who don't really trust themselves, that's when you see a lot of things like addiction and trying to escape, their reality. And I think it's just a matter of like really that inner trust.
I've said this 100 times on the podcast, but I got the word surrender tattooed on my arm in 2016 when my dad died in my own handwriting. And surrender for me is directly related to trust.
How so?
Because surrendering to the fact that I don't and it's surrendering to the trust, like trusting that if I surrender, like I don't know all the answers, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I know I'm going to be okay on the other end. It's that part.
Oh
I know I'm going
yeah.
to be okay on the other end.
Yes.
That's how it's directly related to trust, because me not surrendering means that I'm not trusting myself.
And I think you make a really good point, which is when you have surrender with trust, that's real surrender versus when you literally just give up and you don't,
Hmm.
you're basically not doing anything with your life anymore. That's the difference, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
delusional. Surrender with trust. Oh, that is brilliant. That is really a really powerful energetic place.
Thank you. Because it's hard.
It's scary.
It's so scary. I think that is like PhD level work for me
Yeah.
personally.
Wow. But you know what? You're on the cutting edge because like the energy that's coming from the future, it really is more heart-based, heart-led. And in order
Hmm.
for you to do that, you have to surrender this, right? The brain and
Yeah.
all of the ways that we want to control. So even with me right now, like I'm really listening to my energy, even though my head's like, oh, you want to take this opportunity. Oh, you're gonna miss out if you don't do this. But my heart doesn't feel like it, so just gonna trust that.
In our culture, like that, ooh, that is rough. We need to take a quick ad break. And when we come back, I want to actually ask you about, speaking of culture, I'm going to ask you about the patriarchy. We'll be right back, everybody. Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. When you're listening to a song on the radio and you get the profound feeling that the song playing was written about you? Now imagine having the power to gift that same incredible feeling to someone you love with an original song from Songfinch that actually is written just for them. Songfinch lets you create an original radio quality song inspired by your own life and the people you love. It's completely unique, personal, and lasts forever. Whether your song is for Father's Day, an upcoming graduation, wedding, or anniversary, or even just a gift to show your loved one how much you care, start your song now to lock in one of Songfinch's top artists. I gifted Songfinch to myself, a song about my late father, and I'm so excited to play you a clip.
Flipping through the slides of learning how to live and how to love, and coming undone a father, daughters without, so she writes it down.
One of my clients heard about Songfinch from this podcast, and so she had a song created for her son who was graduating, and she told me that they both cried when she played it for him and that it exceeded her expectations. For a limited time, Songfinch is letting our listeners upload their song to Spotify for free, so you and the lucky person you gift it to can listen to it anywhere, anytime. Go to songfinch.com/noise and start your song. After you purchase, you'll be prompted to add Spotify streaming for your original song for free, a $50 value. Again, my URL is songfinch.com/noise. Don't forget to share your song with us too. songfinch.com/noise.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in, and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You talk about how you feel, in your opinion, the patriarchy has co-opted the word genius. Talk about that.
So when we think of genius, we think of some old white guy with a high IQ, right?
Right. Or like the Elon Musks and of the world and like those guys.
Exactly.
Those bros.
I feel like that's really problematic. And I think actually it's like its own self-destructive thing, because we think of genius as IQ, basically, right? We have tests for genius. And it's
How
such
intelligent
like
you are, yeah.
it's such a dude thing, because it's like only the brain, only the mind matters. But we know now that we also process a lot of information in our gut, definitely in our heart math, right? In our energy field, which is connected to everything that's existed since the beginning of time. So the mind, the brain is really just a very small part of our actual genius. And I think when we really acknowledge that, then it's a little disruptive, because then it's like, wait a second, well, then everyone can't be a genius. Everyone has genius. Oh my, go figure. Everyone has a sense of genius, not just like these dudes who score on this test that was created by dudes. What?
Right. And it's not a zero-sum game. Just because everybody has it doesn't mean there's like a limit to it.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't run out of genius. You just like learn more and more different types of genius that people have. It's fascinating.
And how can people, I want to circle back to manifestation too, as well. And, this question can be directed that way too, but like, how can people tap more into their own genius? Is it directly related to like how people manifest? Is there similarities?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. And my answer is very specific. So my definition of genius is simply how you take in the world and how you respond to the world. And that's a very broad thing. And I'll give you an example. I did a session with someone 2 days ago, and she is a singer in classical music, and she's in Europe. And I was just trying to suss out like kind of what her genius is. We're talking about her business and all of that stuff. And she has a very standard kind of coaching practice. Like I help people overcome their blocks, right? So they can be more confident, all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, there's something more here. And I was just asking her a bunch of questions, like, in your group of friends, what kind of friend are you? Are you the Samantha? Are you the Carrie? Like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm the friend that hosts parties. I really like hosting parties. And I was like, I got this energetic jolt from that. I was like, tell me more. And so
Mm-hmm.
she is the friend that will have parties at her house. People feel so welcomed at her parties, right? She takes an entire day to prepare, and then people leave like a different person. So that's kind of her coaching. That's her magic. So
Yeah.
she takes in the world, she sees, hmm, how can I bring the people together? And then at her parties, she knows what every guest, what they like, what they need, and she caters to their needs, right? And so that's part of her genius is how she takes in the world, and her parties, her events are magical. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's not shocking to me that when she hosts parties for fundraising, they raise a lot of money. It's not shocking to me
Yeah.
that she has clients that go up to her and they say, like, you throw this really cool party. She does pajama parties. And actually, that's the reason why I signed up for your whole group coaching, is because I wanted to be part of your party. Because people, I don't throw parties. Like, I throw really not great parties. I don't like throwing, it's not part of my genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have someone who is, it's part of their genius to do it, and it's a really intricate process to be able to work with all these people and take their needs and cater to them and cook and ambiance. It's really complex, actually. So if we had that as the center of our coaching business, how amazing is that? And the beautiful thing about the parties is so in classical music, it's very hierarchical. And so
Okay.
you have someone who's a conductor, who's all the way up here, and a musician who's like all the way down here, right? But guess what? If I'm a musician and I have a party, the roles get flipped. So the conductor comes to my party as my guest, and I'm actually a little bit above him or her, because they're invited to my house, right? And then a lot of magic can happen in those conversations when you're having fun. So it's brilliant, right?
That's interesting. So it's almost like the niche of your inherent personality.
And it's so true. And you know what? The kind of messed up thing is our genius is the thing that we take for granted and that we discount the most. So for her, she was
Mm-hmm.
like, wait, doesn't everyone know how to throw good parties? It's so easy for me to throw parties. There's no way this is part of my business. It's no way that
Mm-hmm.
it's special. And I'm like, no, don't you see? It's like really, really, really special. You could actually take over the world if you throw enough parties.
I remember a long time ago, it must have been a book or something. Maybe like Martha Beck was talking about it, but the whole concept of like following your feel good.
Oh yeah,
Have
yeah,
you
yeah,
heard that
yeah.
term before?
Yeah.
So it's basically like it's similar to what you just said, like following what comes naturally to you, following what feels good to you, because those are your very distinct and specific inherent genius, as you
Yes.
say.
And if you take that, so I talked about how like your genius is how you take in the world, right? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine you're planning a party, right? You're this person, and how you take in the world and how you express it back out, her going to every guest and talking to them and curating the special environment. And that's how you are your operating system when you go into the world, with your clients or with donors or with whoever, right? But usually that's the part of us that we disown. It's part of our shadow. We're just like, oh, that's not me. That's just me, my hobby. Or, like for her, like,
Mm-hmm.
I think for a while she hasn't thrown an event because she's been really busy with work and all that stuff. So it's like, how can we connect that part of you, that feel good part of you, right? And have it in your everyday life. That's game changing.
Using that same example, I mean, obviously she can't throw parties every single day, but like, what is something small that she could do where she'd be honoring that?
So she might not be throwing parties every single day, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you speak with someone and they're really present and maybe they're giving you a bit of food or would you like a cup of coffee? That's like a mini party.
Yeah.
And there's something in your energy when you're doing that thing that you're naturally inclined to do. And when you own it and when you consciously know, oh, this is my thing. So actually what we're doing is she's using it in her marketing. So she's
Okay.
building it into her personal, I guess, marketing avatar, where she is essentially this hostess who creates events where people come and collaborate, the greatest minds or whatever. And so
Yeah. Sounds like she's also a connector.
exactly, yeah. And so you can
Mm-hmm.
use it as part of your marketing. You can come from that energy. And what it does is it makes you stand out because you're not this copy and paste, just like everyone else.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is it's so authentic to you. And that to me is the
Mm-hmm.
important part because the energy feels really clean. Because I don't know if you've noticed, sometimes you hear people and maybe they're a love coach and you're like, I don't know, should you be a love coach? It doesn't feel right. right? And maybe they're not doing the thing that's authentic to them. Maybe they can do it. Maybe they can be a business coach, but maybe they would be better served doing something else, like, I don't know, teaching dance or something like that, right?
Okay, interesting. I know you also talk about the link between genius and authenticity. And we kind of talked about that. Is that exactly what you just said? Or is there something else around authenticity that you could share
That's
with
exactly
us?
it. Your genius
Okay.
is your authentic self.
I like the word genius because it sounds really smart. So let's all use that.
Yeah, I like it too, but it has like a connotation, so I think it's important to change that connotation.
Yeah. So what about people with, because I know a lot of my listeners, they don't have like a business per se. A lot of my listeners are like they're nurses or teachers, but the vast majority of them are on social media. Like I'm a firm believer that in this day and age, like we all have a personal brand, like whether we have a business or not. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that maybe your opinion is that not only do we have a personal brand, but it's important in like what we're kind of attracting in our life. Like, is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because you mentioned manifesting. And if we
Yes.
manifest things from our authentic place, first of all, a lot of us try to manifest things that maybe we don't really want, right? And
Hmm.
so I love when you said your picture, you drew a bunch of hearts, right? Because that's authentic
Yeah.
to you. It's what your soul wants. And so I think it's actually more productive and easier to get stuff if you manifest what your soul wants versus in your head, it's always money. Money solves everything,
Right.
right? And it
It
might
solves
not
it. We
be,
think it solves everything.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it might not be what your soul wants, and it might actually be the thing that gets you to your most prosperous life.
Yeah. And I think some people, I think money and like partnership,
Yeah.
I think is another one that people think. And I've certainly been in that place, now as I venture out into, single life, which I haven't rarely ever in my entire life. I'm like, oh, this is going to be a fun experiment.
No, you're really going to have a lot of fun. It's a crazy world
You
out there.
think so?
You're going to have fun. Yeah.
I no, I definitely think I'm going to have fun, but I also think it's going to be a roller coaster of just like unlearning so many things because like my instinct is to run towards a new
Yeah.
relationship. Like I must get picked. This is the patriarchy
Yes.
speaking. Like
Yes.
I need to get picked. I'm pushing 50. So, good luck, lady. And all these sort of, cultural the social conditioning that we've all received as women about how our worthiness is wrapped up in if we are picked or not. Our relationship status is and in that, and like truly, like right now, I don't want to be in a relationship. Like I have no desire, and I feel really torn though because like I also don't want to be lonely. So all that to say, like I'm making up a story that being single always equals lonely,
Yeah.
and I think the reality of it that's not necessarily true. Like I decide that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And actually, it's, the soft girl era, and there's so many studies around marriage is for men.
Sure.
Married men are much
Mhm.
healthier, much better off, less suicidal.
They benefit so much
No,
more
but
than
married
women.
women,
Hmm.
it's actually not the same, we don't get the same value. So I think it's
Right.
like it's not an accident that your soul chose this time for you to be free in the world and really just have fun and discover what's out there. And really, and I love what you said, like and I think it's just like our generation, it's like you have to be coupled or you're not
Yeah.
worthy or you are like sad and lonely. And so many people have shown that actually, no, it's really fabulous out here. Please come join us because we're just like super much dudes
Right.
having fun.
I do want to surround myself with my friendships are important though, because I've had a long time conversation with one of my really close girlfriends about like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to like start some kind of commune, where we can like, clean and check out like even like sex toys and stuff. And we even went as far as this is really fun. My friend Amy Smith. Do you remember? And I don't know if this is like most public elementary schools and even middle schools where you'd be in PE and then they had that door that was like cut in half and the top part of it opened
Yes.
up and like it's where you would check out like PE equipment.
Yes. Yes. I know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about.
So we envisioned that for sex
That's
toys,
awesome.
like on this commune. We're like, you check out whatever you want.
I feel like that exists in Europe somewhere. Andrea, you gotta find it.
Probably. This is how specific we were getting with this commune. But anyway, all that to say that I do want to surround myself with people that matter. It just doesn't need to be in like a monogamous, committed relationship with,
Yeah, and I
specific
love it
gender
because
roles.
in that vision, there wasn't really a dude, it was just like you and your friends.
Yeah,
And so like
for sure.
I think that era is really awesome.
I wonder if, because I know more people are talking about it, and I hope that I'm if anyone's listening to this and you were like, I'm serious, there's some land, in Charlotte, North Carolina, because I can't be too far away from my kids. Sorry, you guys, I can't move to Canada or another part of the United States. But yeah, I'm game.
You know what?
I definitely have.
Hold on, Andrea. So I'm remembering now that me and my girlfriends have a text thread. It's been going for 4 years about who's going to buy the €1 castle in Italy. I wonder if women everywhere have their own circle of girlfriends that they're like, please, let's just buy a property and move away.
And like make our own rules.
Yes. That must be it.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Okay, we need to take one more break and we'll be right back. And I want to ask you about your book.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book, How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Hey there, I'm Debbie Reber, the founder of Tilt Parenting and the author of the book Differently Wired. The mission of Tilt is to change the way neurodivergence, whether that's having a learning disability, having ADHD, being gifted, autistic, or some combination of all of the above, is perceived and experienced so differently wired kids and the parents like us raising them can truly thrive. On the Tilt Parenting podcast, I get to talk with authors, therapists, educators, and parenting experts who are committed to this mission. I ask the questions my listeners are most curious about when it comes to supporting our kids. And in turn, my guests share strategies for challenges, out-of-the-box ideas for navigating school, best practices for therapies, tips for advocating, and so many thoughtful insights on what it really takes to help our kids grow up feeling seen and respected so they can create awesome lives for themselves. I know that raising a differently wired kid can feel overwhelming and isolating, but I promise you, you are not alone, and it can feel so much better. If you're on this parenting journey, come listen to Tilt Parenting. Together, we can shift this paradigm and show up for our exceptional kids with hope, possibility, and joy.
No one told us the truth about parenthood. Why? This is the podcast everyone needed before they had kids, because now that those little ones are here, there is a lot to unpack. I'm Rachel Shepardota, and I am your host for the podcast No One Told Us, where we tell the truth about parenting and let you in on all the stuff you really should have known about before having kids. I am the founder of Hey Sleepy Baby, but this podcast is so much more than sleep. We'll be diving into all the topics that you really care about and need to know while you do your best job raising those adorable tiny humans. Our goal is to just make you feel less alone and less overwhelmed. There are so many things that no one tells us before becoming a parent, and I think that we should really pull back the curtain on becoming a first-time or second-time mom or dad to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll have a little education, a little fun, and a whole lot of heart that goes into each and every episode. So join me and our amazing guests each week to hear us talk about what no one told us.
All right, we're back. And your book is called Shadow Magic, Turn Your Fear into Fuel and Create a Prosperous Coaching Business. And I know some of my listeners definitely have a coaching business, but a lot of them do not. And they, work 9-to-5s or in healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. And so I know that in that book, you talk about shadow work, and shadow work is like kind of a buzzword if anyone's on social media. So can you talk about that and how that sort of, I don't know if you like the word sabotage, like how does that show up in people's life and kind of keep them stuck?
Oh yeah. So yeah, definitely a buzzword. And I did it before it became popular. So I feel super old. Awesome.
You get extra points for that.
Yay.
Yeah.
But the shadow is just the unconscious part of us. And so that part actually does a lot of sabotaging in terms of, if we want to reach bigger goals, or it actually shows up a lot after we've celebrated some form of success. So it could be you just got your promotion or you just had an amazing launch. Then it's like, wait a second, maybe this is a fluke. Do I really deserve this? So all of that's a shadow.
I felt that after my first book came out. I wondered if it was just a fluke.
Really? Yeah, me too. Yeah, but that can stop us if we're not aware of it, right? If we really believe that voice, then we're like, oh, I don't really deserve it. This was just like a random thing that happened to me, and maybe it won't happen again. And so that can
Yeah.
really change the course of our business.
So it sounds a little bit like maybe shadow work is sort of an umbrella term for things that, words that people have heard on this podcast, like imposter complex,
Yep.
negative self-talk,
Yeah.
self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Can you give us some tools or exercises that people can take away with to start to work on it? I mean, whether it's even just like noticing what theirs are
Oh,
at the very
absolutely.
beginning.
Yeah, because our shadow actually runs the show a lot more than we think. And it doesn't matter if you're a business or if you're in a career, or it really doesn't matter. Notice the patterns that you have around showing up. Right. So if you're doing business, maybe it's you and your marketing. Are you really showing up in your marketing, or are you not because you need to be perfect, or, you're afraid of judgment, whatever? If you're at work, are you really showing up, in the meetings? Are you speaking? Are you asking for what you deserve? Do you value yourself? If not, notice what happens. Notice the voices. Those are your shadow voices. And it's always a pattern. So notice what your patterns are around asking for promotions, asking for what you need. Notice your patterns around money. Notice your patterns around your own self-worth and communicating with people. There are always patterns. And then that usually points out what's going on underneath, the bottom of the iceberg, what's happening.
One way people can find out what their patterns are, I think this is an underutilized tool, is if anyone out there is listening who sees a therapist regularly, if you haven't asked your therapist this, ask them if they can point out any patterns that they see with you.
Oh, nice.
I try as a coach, I try to tell my clients when and I always say something like, from where I'm sitting, it seems like, and I throw it out there and ask them if they agree with me, because I have a different perspective than they do. And sometimes when my clients ask me that, when they'll be like, do you have any feedback for me? Like things that you see that come up? And I'm like, I kind of kick myself. I'm like, yes, I do have an answer to that. And I should have told you ahead of time. And so if your therapist hasn't told you that, ask them.
Ask everybody.
I'm sure they have insights.
That's a great question.
That's true. Your friends too.
Ask, because I guarantee you they know. They're just being nice. What are your patterns around relationships? Do you really want to know? Because I'll tell you.
Oof. And be very specific about how, if you're sensitive to feedback, be very specific on how you want them to tell you.
Yeah, because women, our goal is not to necessarily be honest. Our goal is to be there for our friend. And so You're right. Like sometimes we're just in a tender spot where we're like, just tell me, but we're not ready for it. But yeah, just be real and like, listen, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I really need to know. I need this for my own growth. That's actually a really powerful question. You're right.
Is her name Debbie Ford? She passed away. Do you know who that is? Mm-hmm. She wrote a book about, I think that's part of one of the exercises in there is like I had that happen to me. One of my colleagues sent me an email kind of randomly, and I hadn't talked to her in a long time. And she was like, I'm doing this shadow work. And one of the exercises is to ask like what I think it was like bad habits are or something, and how I show up. And I'm like, this is making me very uncomfortable because like we're not that close.
And I
think I did it, but reluctantly.
Yeah. But it's shocking how much like people know if you really ask them. And it's shocking how much you know about other people, but it's all kind of in the unconscious, right? So like if you ask, you will get some decent answers. And I think that's actually I'm going to start asking that question, because it's just we can't see it ourselves. We can be the best, coach or whatever in the world, but you just can't see yourself fully.
Well, before we close up, I want to return back to money manifestation, because I want to give people what I'm pretty sure that they want. And so I want to make sure that we're really clear in the action steps we're suggesting, in terms of what if somebody does feel like, an extra $500 a month would really help me. How do I do that? Where would they start with that in terms of, if they want to manifest more money, abundance, whatever?
Yes. So that's a great question. And I actually talk to the energy of money a lot, and not very like on Monday, I think it revealed to me this energy, which is, Anna, making money is really easy. Most people get in their own way. And I was like, this is so true. Making money is really easy. Usually it's just you ask for it. When was the last time anyone tried to do that, right? Just actually ask for it. And then if we didn't have all this like mental crap, right, around my value, around who wants to buy my stuff, whatever, if you just put it out there, if you put something out there, then you're going to get feedback right away. And chances are at some point, you're going to get money for it. So I think the first thing about money manifestation is realizing that there really is truly, and I'm not BSing you, making money is easy, and it's actually going to get and easier, especially for heart-centered people and creative people, because we're going to get to this point where the population is going to realize, oh, I need a real person who has, people are going to be looking for their souls to be fed, which is really great for creative people, really good.
You mean like instead of like AI?
Yes. So the rise of
Okay.
AI is going to make it for creatives and healers and artists and musicians to actually do really well, because the human heart and this like what our heart craves, what our soul craves, it's not AI. We can tell the difference.
Yeah, can't be duplicated.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a hairdresser, you're going to be like really in demand, right? If you're a healer, they're just people just their souls are hungry. If you do anything that feeds someone's soul, you are going to do so well. If you don't question yourself and you just put your services out there and you ask for money, right? Even if you have a full-time job, if you have a job and you're the person that people come to for advice, for help, whatever, you better be asking for a raise, for promotions. You better be asking for money. Money will come much easier to people who are heart-centered. And I've actually started noticing that now.
I know I've had plenty of clients who had full-time gigs and they have, you know, like an Etsy shop that they started or something like that, where it's it's a side hustle, as you call it. We need a better term for that. I love that. And I agree with you. I can even tell when somebody's used LinkedIn or used AI for ChatGPT for LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
Like
it's everywhere. We can tell people are more discerning. But back to the money manifestation thing is I think the biggest thing we can do is this deconstruction of, do I deserve this money, right? Can it come that easily to me? Because we're always focused on these like external tools. You know, how many times can I write in my money journal or visualize or whatever? And those are fine. If you enjoy doing them, continue doing them. But first you need to do this inner work of like, what's blocking me from receiving this abundance that is supposedly all around me, right? What's blocking me from it? And it really is true. So like, if you tap into what you have access to, like whatever it is that you want, you are just a few steps away from that. But a lot of us don't use that creativity, right? We're just like, okay, I'm just going to get money from my job, or I'm just going to manifest money. But maybe there's a project that you've been wanting to do that actually connects you with people that gives you everything that you want, right? So a lot of us are afraid to actually go deep into our creativity and disturb the way that we've been doing things. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you want the cheat code to life, if you are not afraid to explore, how do I get what I want creatively? You're just setting yourself up for more and more success, because most people are actually closing down and they're like, oh, I can only make money doing drop shipping, or I can only make money, through my job or my side hustle, whatever. But if you really expand your creativity in terms of how can I get this thing, what feels good to me, you're going to come up with amazing creative ideas. And the moment you're in that, you're in the energy of abundance. You'll be surprised how fast things come to you.
It's something that I think has been a lifelong lesson for me personally, in terms of letting go of the safe option, or the option that other people say, oh, you'd be great at that, you should do that. And they might not be wrong. I might, but if I don't love it, then it's just not going to work. Like that's happened so many times. Like for instance, like membership communities are still all the rage in our industry. And I've had so many people ask me like, why haven't you done that? You have the platform for it. I just, no, it just isn't something that, and I can, I won't get into the reasons like why it isn't something that I'm interested in. Like I love community. I love my audience. It isn't that at all, but it's like the amount of heavy lifting that is involved to actually make a profit from that is a hell no for me. And so, and I don't want to sound elitist, but it's like, I have to pursue other things that just feel better, or else I'm going to just feel trapped.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yes. Follow your energy, right? It's like, what do you want to do? Well, I hate my life if I do this. And the thing is, like, some people love membership sites, and that is the life. But
I love that for them. I wish I did.
I know, me too. There's so many things I wish I loved working out, I really wish I liked a lot of things.
Really wish I liked juicing. I tried that for a while, and
juicing's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's a lot of work and a lot of cleanup. I just not a lot of what I was getting back. Anything else that you want to say, that you want to circle back to make sure that like you don't something you want to walk away from this conversation having left behind?
Oh my gosh. I feel like your audience is so brilliant, and they clearly follow you because you have this medicine for them. You have this courage, you have this tenacity, you have this transparency of I'm going through real life, guys, and this is what I'm doing, and we're all figuring it out. And I really would love to say that being able to trust yourself is the same as being able to trust God, because you're a part of God. You're a part of this, this source energy. And self-trust is probably the thing that I invested in. And all of these coaches and therapists and these people, I think what they really, the one thing that they helped me the most with is trusting myself. And if we can really trust ourselves, we are unstoppable, and we'll actually bypass a lot of the chaos, because 2024, there's going to be a lot more chaos. Probably in the next few years, there's going to be more natural disasters, more stuff with the economy. There's just a lot of stuff that I feel and has been predicted, right, by people.
Yeah, especially going into an election year, it's a given.
Yeah, so your self-trust will actually put you in a completely different energy where you don't need to be touching any of that stuff, and it won't even affect you. Right? It'll just put you on this path to the life that you want to live, but it starts with self-trust. So whatever you need to do to really love and trust yourself, that is the best investment you could ever make.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Like, I think I just want to say one more thing to tag on to that on like a personal note. I think that the last few years have been I might get emotional saying this, because I got sick in 2020. Like, it really ramped up in 2021, and it took me 18 months to get a diagnosis of an autoimmune. And it was like a time where I really had to lean into trusting myself, and like trusting that my body was trying to tell me something, and like trusting that I was right in like pushing the doctors and saying like, no, this isn't just perimenopause. Like, no, this isn't just depression. And turns out it wasn't. And also like trusting that it was the right decision to walk away from a 15-year marriage, when I have two teenagers, where it was going to heavily impact them. And also trusting that wherever I find myself in terms of my career, in terms of, whether I'm partnered or not, like that has been like these last few years, I have felt like I think we go through seasons in our personal growth. And I've definitely had moments where I've just kind of been like free floating, like everything's pretty good, And like these last few years, I feel like I've been like someone grabbed me by the hair and just like ran really fast with me. And I know I'm not the only one, like we've all been in those places of just, and then also I want to say this one more thing too, because I think this is common. And I don't know if people talk about this enough. When you trust yourself to take some kind of action, and in my case, like leaving my marriage, like I want to be very open that I had moments of, what have I done? Did I make a mistake? Because the pain and the turmoil that's been kicked up, I mean, because this is like kicking up stuff from my own parents' divorce, from my previous divorce from my first husband. It's like I was ill prepared for, I think, just like feeling like I got kicked in the teeth. And I had moments, they were fleeting, but definitely had moments of like, maybe I should not have trusted myself. Maybe I was wrong.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that, because I don't think that gets talked about
Absolutely.
a lot.
Those like, oh fudge moments, like, did I screw up everything? But still, even with those moments deep inside, like, I have to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. For everyone listening, we'll put Anna's website and definitely her TikTok in the show notes if you're over on TikTok. Do you move your TikTok videos over to Instagram?
I do not. That's a level
okay.
I'm not ready for yet.
You're not ready for that. I hear you. I've been in that place. Well, definitely, if you're reluctant to get on TikTok, I would say that just to follow Anna and me would be worth it. I love your videos, and I don't watch very many people's videos that are like, 2-3 minutes long. So I always watch yours. So thank you so much for the work that you do in the world. I wish this could have been a 3-hour conversation.
Can we make it a 3-hour conversation?
We can. You can definitely come back. And I'm sure we'll have more to talk about in the end of 2024 after everything happens and the world is in chaos.
I know, you're going to
again.
be flourishing. You're going to be in your new life.
I know. I'm going to be in a new place. And I'm like, currently looking for a job, and just things are shifting around here. Like, I'm not stopping the podcast. That will always still be here. But is there anything anywhere specific? Like, I'm just assuming that you want people to go to your TikTok and go your book. Do you anywhere else that you want to point them to?
AnnaTsui.com/book. You can actually download half the book for free. Don't tell my publisher, and just check it out, and then if you like it, you buy it.
Awesome. And we'll put that link in the show notes. Thank you so much. And listeners, I'm so grateful for your time. I know how you are pulled in so many different directions in your life, and I'm incredibly grateful that you choose to spend it with me and my guests. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye for now. Hey, listeners, if you work for a company that does professional development, did you know that I offer leadership training, more specifically, empathy and assertiveness and how it makes stronger teams? You can see more on my speaking page at AndreaOwen.com/speaking, where there's also a contact button there so you can fill out that form and let's chat.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.